to welcome an amazing speaker who is coming from my hometown, London. Daniela, Nyarko, Head of Strategic Sales, EMEA at Canva. I think all of you use Canva or know Canva, I'm sure. Come utilizzare la comunicazione visiva per amplificare il proprio impatto. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Daniela Nyarko. I'm Head of Strategic Sales at Canva. And today I want to speak about a topic that is actually very dear to me. And once it is visual communication, but also how to use your brand in order to be successful in any professional setting. I've used my personal brand in many environments, in the corporate world, but also in a sort of smaller tech environment. And it's always enabled me to really find opportunities and become more successful. So let's have a look at the definition. A personal brand is an image or a person that cultivates by aligning their skills, experiences, and values to communicate a cohesive identity. So it's all about how we present ourselves to the world. So a brand itself is more than just an image, right? It's really where your values, your experiences, and your skills come together and where you form a cohesive identity. If we like it or not, every touch point that we have every single day, we are working on our personal brand. So we need to make sure that we make it count. If we are aware of it or not, we need to make sure that we make it count. So early on in my career, I asked myself, how can I build a solid foundation so that I have some guidance as I navigate the professional environment? So I asked myself 3 questions, and I also use my value methods. So the question I ask myself, and I guess which we all can ask ourselves that question: who do you want to be? Who do you want to be as a leader? Who do you want to be as a colleague? That question goes beyond just saying, I want to be a journalist or a leader or a project manager. It's really trying to understand your deep purpose and your aspirations. So it really helped me. It's almost like a GPS. As soon as I sit in the driving seat, if I need to make decisions and if I need to action, I really go back to this question. I ask myself, Daniela, who do you want to be? Who do you want to be as a leader, and who do you want to be as a colleague? It's one thing to have goals, it's one thing to have milestones, but as we progress throughout the corporate world and through our career, we need to acknowledge that sometimes we need to grow into a certain persona. What lies behind us, what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. So that's question 1 I ask myself to build my personal brand and also to be able to articulate it to everyone around me. And then what I do is I build it upon my ecosystem of values. And I've broken it into 3 pillars for me. One is integrated decision making throughout my career, which is around leadership, and it's acknowledging that values are dynamic. And only if you understand the interconnection for myself, then when it's becoming really powerful. And then also allowing enhanced adaptability, so being able to pivot and to make the right decisions at the right time when it's required for me. But all of this requires balance, right? I think we all can understand that the corporate world, especially as females in leadership, it can be quite heavy, it can be quite exhausting. So balance is absolutely important in order to be productive, but also in order to be creative. So, but it's one thing to start working on your own brand, so really trying to understand who do I want to be. And it's another thing now, or understanding that your brand, by the time you become a leader, your brand supersedes yourself. If I'm known for something, let's say Daniela is somebody that is high performing, she is very quality driven. Now, when I become a leader and I have people, for example, reporting into me, I now need to make sure that everything around me is associated with that brand. And the question is, how can we do that to maximize the impact? So that's the question that I ask myself. So what I do is I actually sit down throughout my career, and I sat down with my team and with many people around me, and I actually visualize the values that I stand for and that we should stand for collectively. And those are in chronological order. So 1 is integrity. being able to communicate that it's all about open communication and trust, and it's about building an environment that fosters feedback and ideation. And early on, what I've understood is, for myself as well, when I operate under that value, I'm able to flag risk much, much earlier, but I'm also able to mitigate that risk much, much earlier, because people are willing to share. And on the other side, because I'm able to build a benchmark and also to articulate my expectations as on what I expect in regards to my brand, but also from those that are around me, I'm able to attract people that align with me, which is absolutely essential as we want to progress. And then the second value is, everything I do, I wanted to do with pursuing excellence. That was my second value. And pursuing excellence is beyond any goal. It's a growth mindset. Regardless of if there's a goal before me, what I would want to do is I would want to succeed that goal. I want to be productive, I want to be efficient, and I want to make an impact. I want to make an impact on the organization, on the team, and on myself. And once you're able to articulate those values for yourself, now it becomes contagious. So now I have the ability to empower everyone around me. And that's how we want to use our personal brand. Now it becomes so contagious because people know this is a person, she stands for integrity, this is a person, she stands for pursuing excellence, and now I can become a partner to everyone that is around me. And those values can be utilized in a very practical way on an individual level, but also on a collective level. So it really helped me to identify new opportunities, but it also helped me to make new alliances in every organization that was beyond my segment, going into different sectors such as legal, security, people that usually I wouldn't necessarily speak to on a daily basis. And then the last step is you foster accountability. Because once we all understand what our values are, what our expectations are, what the benchmark is, decreasing mediocrity, now we are able to make confident decisions. And we can also stir away from any form of micromanagement. Because we are able to articulate and we have jointly decided that this is the brand that we want to emphasize to everyone around us. This is how we distinguish ourselves from everyone around us. And I live by this method every single day. It's something that we can adjust in our lives, in our personal lives, but also in our professional lives. The second question that I asked myself, what do you want to be known for, Daniela? I've learned that people forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. It's one thing to have a brand internally, right? Because a lot of times it comes with receipts. Maybe we worked on something successfully, so people just know this is a person, you've done well, we know exactly who to reach out to. But as females, what do we do if we step into a new environment? When we are the underdog, when people underestimate us. And this question helped me to provide clarity and purpose. Because what I wanted to do is, any room that I've entered, and trust me, I've entered a few rooms in leadership, but also as senior roles, and people have underestimated me. But I want to be in charge of my narrative. I want to decide who I am. I don't want anyone to put me in any box. And having these values, they allow me to adapt regardless of whatever environment I am. So having a seat at the table and entering a space that maybe perhaps is unfamiliar for us, it's okay if you have a strong set of values sitting behind you. So the term underdog, I think I find quite interesting, is a sports analogy, right? It can be empowering and motivating because it means having nothing to lose and everything to gain. So this is how I have used my disadvantages as an advantage. A practical example, what I've done in the past is, every time I've entered a room and I felt like, oh, maybe people are trying to underestimate me a little bit, especially as females, I pick a high-impact project. And I decide what a high-impact project is. It's something that is in our close realm, right? So for example, you might have workflows in your day-to-day job that need some enhancement, that need some fixing. So what I would do is I will pick one of those projects and I turn it into a high-impact project. I focus on 3 areas. I focus on my personal impact so that I have growth. I focused on the business impact so that I can deliver results. And I focused on my team impact to foster stronger relationships. And the good thing here really is it goes with my values of pursuing excellence, because everything that I do, I want to do to a gold standard. So now that's how your values, how they become life for me. And because I'm not under scrutiny, really, because it's a project that probably somebody would have never picked up, I have enough room to be creative and also to be productive. But most importantly, because I can be creative, I can define a completely new set of standards of how we should work in an organization. Because nobody's going to interfere in that space. And once you have those results, you have minimum risk, really. And all of a sudden, you have redefined completely how things should be done, but also how you should be perceived. So it's a very positive and it's a very fruitful exercise, not only for yourself, but also for everyone else. And it also allows you to go beyond maybe perhaps your current role or your current department, because you will impact many people around you. So we can all just think about this tiny thing that we potentially could make better and use for our advantage. So your brand is what you're known for and your reputation. It's what you're known for and your reputation. Let me give you another analogy. If we go into a premium fashion house, by the time you call their customer service, it's all about the experience. It's all about the touch point. By the time you call their customer service, you're going to get super quick responses, and you're quite pleased with how they engage with you. By the time you go to one of their stores, you're greeted by a salesperson. Maybe they offer you a glass of water or a glass of champagne. They might even give you a VIP experience when it comes to trying and fitting on new clothes, because that's their brand, it's premium. By the time you go to their social media looks absolutely exciting. They work with the best photographers, best models, best designs are displayed, because someone up there decided, this is the brand, this is what I stand for, and every touch point must be the same. And then I thought to myself, how can I apply this to myself? How can I do this? So it's all about the experience and leveraging your brand for greater influence. So every touch point that I have internally, junior stakeholders, senior stakeholders, external stakeholders, it must reflect my premium brand. It must reflect that I have this growth mindset, that I want to pursue excellence. But also the way I communicate and the way I tell a story. Do you just send plain emails or plain text? Or do I really use visual storytelling so that it aligns with everything that I've just outlined? And it must also reflect my leadership style. So think about the brand that you want to build, and think about if every touch point actually matches that experience. And once you're able to do that, to really build that brand that it's based on your skills, based on your performance, based on your values, and based on the experience, that's really when you use personal branding at its core. And it's going to be super impactful. And it also allows you to be yourself. So it's more than just an image. It's really understanding your deep identity and what you stand for, and then influencing everyone around you. The final question that I asked myself, how are you being perceived? So it's one thing for me to understand what I want to do, what I want to be known for, but how are we being perceived? We are only as good, I've realized. My native language is not English, actually. My native language is German. And what I've realized is I'm only as good as I am able to articulate my strategy or who I am for everyone else. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. So we need to make use of everything that we do every single day. And that's where visual storytelling comes in. We can use visual storytelling to amplify our impact. And why is that important? Because the way we communicate today has absolutely changed. If we go back 20, 30 years, right, we used letters. Letters have now become emails. Typewriters is no longer a thing. We have laptops. Analog phones are not even a thing anymore. We use smartphones. Through social media, we've been introduced to a whole new way of communication. And it needs to be short, and it needs to be compelling. It needs to be visual. And I need to be able to make complex things simple. That's what we want. Our attention span is very short. We want to see this, and then we want to make a decision. And we should make use of that in every situation, in a professional setting, but also in a personal setting. So as part of Canva's visual economy report, we speak to leaders all over the world, and actually over 90% have actually confirmed in those businesses that you must have a visual-first approach in order to really unlock business impact. It enhances idea articulation, but it also increases efficiency, especially if we think about international teams where we might have, for example, different languages. How do we cut through any misunderstandings as quickly as possible? Language is something that can cause confusion if we don't speak the same, but storytelling doesn't. It is a universal language that we should use. Because visuals are 40 times more likely to be shared and to be remembered. So we need to understand that attention has become a commodity. It really has become a commodity. And visual storytelling, we should be using it as our currency, also to our own personal advancement, not just when we are in a role, when we work in marketing or in a creative part, for ourselves, the way we engage with our stakeholders. Everything that we push out there, if we incorporate visuals, how we're being perceived, it aligns with our brand that we want to build. And the human brain is also 60 times more likely, 60,000 times more faster in processing visuals. So it's fair to say that visual communication has become the status quo for every leader and every organization. And although I know that sometimes as we enter rooms, it can be quite daunting, I believe for women especially, there's a lot of challenges that are thrown our way. And that's why I say it's all about building that GPS, that foundation of values. Think about who you want to be, what you want to be known for, and what's the method that you can apply in combination with your values, and how do you use your values to influence others. And then enter every room with confidence, or at least have the right tools in place so that you can make actionable decisions at the right time. Thank you very much.